glass ceilings throughout my career, looking back. And that's when I decided to start doing something about it. So I've been an impact investor working with early stage startups and now with Pitango with all ranges of startups, thinking about implementation of impact and sustainability across the board. And certainly one of my areas of focus is gender equality, diversity and inclusion in the venture capital world.
Thank you, Cecile. One of the things that I want to add from my point of view is like being also a female investor, and I will talk about both of us here, is always be the only one around the table, which is okay at some level, but we also need to make sure that we pull, other to make sure that we won't be the only person, and thank God we have like right now a great example in the White House as well, that probably we will see that it's affecting globally in other women. But I want to ask you, been there, done that. I was 20-something, raised the first, fundraising for my first company. It was absolutely a male investor, which was okay. For me, as you mentioned, I didn't feel that something wrong because it was kind of like part of the game. That was the game. But at some point, when you get to your 35, 40, you absolutely understand that something is wrong. So I want, because this is actually not enough time to talk about this huge topic, I want to ask you, Cecile, let's try to find a solution. What do you see? What are you doing every day to make it better?
So we have to work on several levels. Of course, there is incremental change that needs to happen that goes through education, through STEM education, through bringing in more women into the venture industry, etc. And this is something that has to be done, and we're dealing with that, but it's long term. As for now, like right now, first of all, we need to create networks, and Wlounge is an excellent example of that. Women lack network. They lack the ability to reach the right investors, to reach the right partners, to reach the right funding, to reach sometimes even the right customers. So we have to provide network and support each other. I think there's a saying that there's a special place in hell for women who actually don't help other women. I believe that's true. It's our role as female leaders, in a way, which has happened with time, to support younger female leaders, entrepreneurs, investors, etc. So that's one thing, networking and access. Number two, we have to sit in the room. We have to make sure that more women sit in the rooms, in the funds, with the ones who are deploying the capital. There must be many more women sitting in the room who can also create a better atmosphere and an easier way for women to access and discuss and present, and also bring the value of understanding that women actually present differently and may have different ways of seeing how business evolves. And that is not a bad thing. It's actually just different. So our role as investors, as female investors that are sitting in the room, on one hand, to create a better atmosphere for the women presenting, but also for our male partners to sort of do the translation or the intermediary work on explaining how women see things. And number three, we have to make sure that women across the board understand that the high-tech industry is inclusive of everyone. You don't have to be a developer necessarily to be included in the venture capital and startup industry. Startups don't only work on their technology. They need people from everything, from marketing to finance to business development to support, to like every other thing is also part of the startup. So female, sometimes women are a little bit reluctant of joining the startup world and the venture capital world because they think it's only about technology development, but it's not. So be inclusive and provide opportunities right now.
Thank you, Cecile. You mentioned many things that touch the personality, which I love it. And, we know that, on purpose you are here on stage because, right now I'm in Berlin, you're in Tel Aviv, but eventually we deal with the same challenges, and we all know that startups need different ecosystem to learn and to grow with. And I know that Berlin and Tel Aviv is at least one of my favorite collaboration. But on the same time, I want you to give some tips for the audience today, because probably the majority of the audience still think that impact investment, it's not necessarily for revenue, it's not necessarily running for the same rules of the venture capitals or pure venture capital. You're part of Pitango, so absolutely go without saying it's for revenue because Pitango has a hand in all the biggest name in the world today. I want you to give some tips, please, on this stage, on purpose, in a global level. What is impact when it comes to the founder? How can I build my product? And I know it's doing good because every founder thinks it's going to change the world, but how can I define it as an impact when I pitch it to investors?
Yes, excellent question. So first of all, impact is a mindset. It's like you said very well, it needs to be something that you believe in and that you think you can do, but maybe you need some help thinking what is the target and what are the key performance indicators, the KPIs that you want to achieve. So, so first of all, you start with a mindset. What is my intention and what am I trying to achieve? Then I advise founders to first of all, build their company under the ESG assumptions. So ESG stands for environment, social, and governance, which really means how you run your business. What kind of people you hire, what terms of working conditions do they have, what kind of training opportunities, profit sharing, how do you look at your board, how do you construct it, how do you make sure that it works well and that you're making sure there's no problems like sexual harassment or any kind of inclusion problems. Then if you have some material production, you think about your supply chain. How do you source your material? Where do they come from? How accountable are you for that? And what kind of product you want to deliver? So first of all, you build the ESG, and it's not very difficult. You just need to go online, look at what ESG stands for, and find out how you build your company. And it doesn't matter if it's two entrepreneurs and a PowerPoint presentation or a company that is already bigger and is trying to rethink about itself. Next, the way to do it in a quantifiable way is instead of saying the word impact, look at the Sustainable Development Goals. Actually, this poster, which is right here behind me. So the Sustainable Development Goals are 17 goals that were defined by the UN, which have to be achieved by year 2030. So that we have a good society to live in and a good planet to live in. So if you look at the 17 goals and you go inside of these goals, you will see the directives. So there's more than 200 directives. And you try to think about your product and these directives and try to think which one of these directives actually speaks your product. What is your product going to do about them? Then you have a very clear mission. You understand what is the total addressable market. The time frame is 2030. Out of that, you know who your stakeholders are, what do you build for them, what is your time frame, what is your market, and ultimately, this is how you build your business plan and your product. So it starts with the intention and the mindset, and it ends with very, very practically building a plan that is based on numeric, quantifiable outcomes.
Very good goal at the end. I love the last word. I want to ask you as well, continue, because I know you're sitting in front of the SDG. You know, the SDG actually take 6 years before. We didn't have this language to talk about sustainable, to talk about impact. And you know what we raised in Wlounge? We call it the WDL. It's the Wlounge Their Leadership. Following the SDG, we have the WDL. It's 12 skills on the personality that you have to have as a founder, as a leader, as you want to call yourself a leader and your product has to lead the category, like best case scenario. I want to dive into it with you because eventually I would talk for a second as a Wlounge, you know, as a connector, as matching between capital and technology. Most of the time when it doesn't work, it's because of the personality of the team and the founder. Something is not going well there. And I want you to give tips right now. What are you searching in founder? And we both know that we are not investing only in women. If the product is amazing and a diverse team, we're all into it. What are the characters? What are the personality that you're searching when you are talking with founders, when you're talking with the team?
Yes, so I think the team is probably the most critical part, and you're absolutely right that you need to train the teams. So the founders need to be a rare mix of people who can do a marathon, but with sprints. And it really is rare. Being an entrepreneur is already quite a difficult task. but you need to be able to understand that you need to set long-term goals and take the company, or be able to take the company really all the way, even if you haven't done it in the past, but really be able to think about your company as a unicorn that will be taken public, and how will you do that? And next to that, understand that it's a sprint, that you have to run short sprints all the time, and you can't get tired. It's totally something that needs to be embedded. When I look at founders, I also try to find out what is their intention. Do they actually have a mission? Do they have a passion for changing the world, for doing something with their product that they're building that actually makes a difference? This is something that they have to be convinced of. Otherwise, it will be thrown out the window the first time that they have a difficulty. You have to make sure that the founders are people that are cohesive, that they work together. If it's a lone founder, that's a different story. But many times we see several founders together. So the way that they work together, the cohesiveness between the founders and their ability to collaborate and also let go. So some people will do different things, and they need to come across as people that will be able to work together in the long term. And that's the dynamics between the team. It's critical as well, because many of the companies that fail actually fail because of the challenges between the founding team as it is.
100%.
I think it has to be diverse in many ways, and also be committed to understanding that building a startup is a very long path. And by finding the product market fit, you will change and tweak your business a few times. And you need to be flexible enough to understand it and be able to bend, but not break.
Very well said. And as always, amazing. We never have enough time to talk about this topic. It's amazing to have you. And we didn't mention Gita, but it's obviously we will talk more about Gita because Wlaunch is a big supporter. And as always, we gather forces. We work together in a global level for a very, very important mission. Thank you so much, Cecile. I want to thank you for the time and the efforts, and to really, really empower you to keep pushing what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mali. And I give it right back at you. You're doing something tremendous and amazing and so, so important. I'm your #1 supporter.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cecile.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Very interesting talk. And
this is the next generation.
It is, right? So we actually have a couple of questions also concerning the next generation. Someone is asking, I have 2 daughters in elementary school. What initiative do you see in these early stages to become entrepreneurial?
Oh, very good one. As a mother, I will tell you that it's really come from home, from the education. I mean, first of all, as a role model, don't be afraid, don't show them how much you're scared from, don't give them, I would say, the reason why not to dare to do. This is one thing. And the second thing, what I'm doing with my kids, which I think it's the genuine answer, is like every time we see, the sparkle, the magic, we support them. Mm-hmm. Like my son is a trader, my son is a coder since A class. So everything they're doing, we make them as much as professional as we can have, because thank God everything goes on the internet. You can buy them a course, you can buy them a mentor, and go without saying for my daughter, she already knows she has a vision for what she is, willing to do or dreaming to do, and we always encourage and give her feeling that she can do it, and give her the skills and the tools.
And you're talking about daughters as well, right? Especially once they grow up and then you go out, and we're still living in a male-dominated world. So as a mother also, what would you recommend them? What would you give them on the way to just push through?
I think everything I mentioned when it comes to be a role model, my kids are coming to the right events that I'm running sometimes, because it just for them to see. Mm-hmm. You don't have to explain, you don't have to over-educate them, but just show them that there is a way, that there is an opportunity for you to do exactly what you dream of, but you have to invest time and effort, and you have to, burn from the inside. This is what I'm telling them. This is exactly what you want to do. Okay, so we will buy you the software, we will buy you the right computer, and so on and so on. But on the first time, that this is not buying them for the meaning of buying, mm-hmm. but for raising them, that we believe in them, and then they believe in themselves.
And as a female founder yourself, what are your recommendations for other female founders or females that are trying to set up companies at this point?
So the first thing is gender is not an issue. Okay, like let's be honest. Once you're professional, once you deliver what you say that you deliver, even like 10x, there's non-issue anymore about the gender. But you have to dream big. This is a big issue when it comes to female in leadership or female that willing to be in leadership, and on the same time, make sure that you can execute amazingly what you're saying that you will. So as a female founder, if you will say, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and in 2 years we will be here and there, make sure that you will be way before the 2 years already when you mentioned. And then you have the credit, you have the creditability, and the rest is history.
Okay, wow. And one more question, also concerning the impact investments that you talked about with Cecile, right? Do you think that Corona is a catalyst for impact investments, and why?
100% yes. Not that it wasn't there. I told you, like, we're talking about this like 2 years, and people really thought that these are crazy, not because we aim only for impact, but we see that this is doing good with the money, still having great revenue. Why? It's because it's suddenly also the public sector talking about this, the European Commission level, people understand that diversity and, you know, the global warming and food and everything that we touch, we have to bring solutions because eventually we have one planet, you know, and one society, you know, if you look at this in a global level. And those startups that will be smart enough to build technology or product that will really, truly solve a problem, they will do an impact and they will be the next winners, you know? This is what we're starting to do, or like willing to do, to find the winners of tomorrow. But we want to allocate them while understanding that the money that we deploy is also supporting them in this mission.
Great. I think finding the winners of tomorrow, this is a great last word. Thank you very much, Mali, for being here with us today, and also to Cecile. She can't hear us anymore, but she was here. And for us, we continue at